Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new live stream. This is the first live stream since the 2024 election, and I think it's time we do a victory lap live stream. I know it's late, just to wrap up Sunday Night Football. What a game that I just witnessed, but nothing compared to what we witnessed on Tuesday night, because that was a beatdown. That was not even close. And we're going to put the camera on. Let's get to 100 likes before we put the camera on. So we're all pouring in. Let everybody pour in. We've got about 200 right now, so let's get some more people in here right now. But either way, guys, we got a lot to get. Not really a lot to get to. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of the stream. I'd like to do super chats. I know it's late, but everybody's coming in at the right time. So we're at 100 likes. We got 500 viewers. Like the stream. Subscribe if you're new or haven't subbed yet. I am not going anywhere. Some people have this false notion that because the election's over, it's like we're just getting started. We have a long way to go. We've got the transition. We've got the administration. 2026 is actually, I'm looking forward to it, because there's a real argument to be made that Donald Trump is going to be a popular president. And that is not something that we usually say about a president that's entering office. Usually they enter office at a high point. They get a honeymoon period. And Biden kind of had one in his favorables. Donald Trump did not exactly get one in 2016. He got a little bit of a bump, but he was already so low in terms of his favorables that a lot of people, didn't really like him personally. He actually improved as time went on. I think he's going to get more of one this time because the media is gone. And I think this is something we haven't touched on yet on the channel a lot in the autopsy report for the Democrats, but the mainstream media is done. They're over. We're the media now. The media ran rampant with hoax after hoax after hoax in the final stretch, only for late deciders, according to every exit poll imaginable, breaking in favor of Donald Trump. The Democrats got absolutely blindsided, but they thought it could work at the last minute. Oh, people feel sorry for Liz Cheney. Really, they actually thought independent voters would resonate with Liz Cheney. Like, these people got so confident after 2022 that they actually thought that they could run like a neocon campaign as a Democrat, trying to sweep it up for an unpopular administration with even more unpopular characters that have been, out of the realm of politics for so long, and it failed. How many times did we hear abortion would doom Trump? Even though you look at the exit poll, and those who think that abortion should be legal up to a certain point, meaning like a 15-week ban, 20-week ban, you name it, legal in most cases, which is what they said on the exit poll, those voters broke 50-50. They broke 50-50 for Trump and Harris. I mean, that should not be happening if abortion is supposed to be the issue that dictates everything, and if they're effectively painting Donald Trump to be this boogeyman on the topic. That just does not happen, and it didn't happen. You saw that. You saw Donald Trump go out there, and he won resoundingly. It was not close. I know the electoral map is kind of, 312 is not a landslide number, but in reality, for a modern-day election, in this day and age, with this level of polarization, it was indeed a landslide. New Jersey and Illinois were within 10 points. That does not happen. It doesn't. Colorado, which is one of the most liberal trending states in the country, moved right. Not a single county flipped to Kamala Harris from Donald Trump in 2020. I did not think that was going to happen, but that's the way it is. There's even questions if she holds on to Orange County, California. There's questions if she's even going to be able to, pull Donald Trump below 50%. That's a majority of the vote as a Republican in 2024, after we heard for decades that Republicans would never win the popular vote ever again. We heard they would never win an election ever again because Republicans were not compromising on immigration. Donald Trump took an even more hardline stance than any other Republican by far, and he set records with Hispanics that nobody's ever gotten before. I mean, you look at the map, Texas, he almost flipped back Harris County, Texas. He put near Romney margins in Texas and Arizona when they said Donald Trump was responsible for the Republicans losing those states. No, now he's responsible for those states turning a corner. It's up to the GOP to capitalize on that and to see what they can do in the future. But Florida, North Carolina, all these states, like I said, you can't ignore party registration data. I've said it for months, and every single thing I've said about this election pretty much damn near has become into fruition. From what I've said about Trump, holding his own with college-educated white voters, from him gaining with working-class voters from every single demographic, from, he needs to hit this benchmark in Pennsylvania to win, or, the Senate candidates aren't going to run that far behind Trump, and they didn't. And sadly, there's very few exceptions, but in some cases, it's like, okay, well, that was soul-crushing in Wisconsin, Eric Hovde, and they should look into that election, by the way. Because Milwaukee's like, little sussy. We understand that. Same thing with the Rogers election. But still, the ticket splitting was there. If Donald Trump is winning a state, you can beat it. It can be too big to rig. And we proved it can be too big to rig. The new RNC, they're actually competent. They actually got it done. Not only that, Trump is going to have 53 Senate seats, an expanded Senate majority to work with. 53. Not 51, not 52. He's going to be at 53 with the chance to go for 54 in Georgia in 2026. The House is still up in the air, you could say, but Republicans are winning it. I've already projected, Republicans are going to win the House. They need 4 seats. Derek Evans' opponent conceded. That's 215. Miller Meeks is going to hold on, probably survive in a recount. That's 216. Ciscomani's going to hold on. That's 217. Steele's going to probably hold on. That's 218. If not, you can get it there through Valadeo, Calvert, some of these other candidates. Either way, we know that Republicans are going to hold the House. The question is by how much. But either way, Donald Trump has a try that they anticipated, it would be a close election. They said that for a while. So either way, okay, did we have a little lag there? I don't know if we had a little lag, but either way, we're back. And there shouldn't be as much lag as there was last time. So hopefully we're going to get that under control. But regardless, we could make sure the bit rate is in the ballpark of where it should be. So we'll do that so we don't have any possibilities for lag. But the one thing I will say is it was just an astounding victory. All the people that like to claim they're right about everything, Ann Selzer, Nate Plastic, who is hedging like crazy. Kamala's going to have a narrow win. Why don't these people look at the fundamentals? They never looked at the fundamentals. They assumed that the electorate would care about what the elites care about, what the election mafia, who pretends to be unbiased but is anything but, cares about, and they didn't. They were not listening, and they put Donald Trump back in the White House with not just a big win, but what it symbolizes. Because you have somebody who's been through it all. He's been through trials. He's actually been shot. In front of tens of thousands of his adoring fans, he gets shot, throws his fist up in the air and yells, "Fight, fight, fight." That is not easy to do. That is not easy to do for anybody. Could you imagine if that happened to a Democrat politician? It'd be everywhere. It'd be on every single possible, street corner, every billboard. They'd be plastering it. Obviously, Trump is going to have to work against that double standard, but even then, the culture's changing. You see what's going on. It is not the same vibe. And the deep state, all these people, they're throwing in the towel in many cases. Now, maybe they're not, but we've seen this. This is a report from Politico. Some career attorneys at the Department of Justice are already considering heading for the exits. What does that tell you? It tells you people realize, oh shit, we're in trouble. Donald Trump is back. He's not messing around. You talk about retribution. This is what we're talking about, draining the swamp. Donald Trump didn't really campaign on draining the swamp. 2016 he did before the election. After the election, it became an afterthought, and you didn't gut the bureaucracy. He didn't follow through on all the initial promises, in part because of who the hell he had around him. Look at his VP then. Look at his VP now. Look at his, leading advisors then. Look at his leading advisors now. It's his party. He's manning the ship. They know it. He's got a mandate to govern. And all these people in the media are, once again, they're not melting down the way they did in 2016, but it's like they're in shock. They're in shock in many cases, and they realize not only did he win, he won big. That's the reason why the left isn't throwing tantrums in the streets. That's why they're not challenging the election results, because of course they would. But you can't deny an election you lose decisively by millions of votes nationally. And even if you want to do the swing states game, hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of votes. Pennsylvania was not close. Wisconsin was not. Well, Wisconsin was closer, but North Carolina was not close. Georgia, was not close. Arizona was, as Donald Trump, as they like to use the term now they use the term, Donald Trump wasn't allowed to use it, but they say bloodbath. It was a bloodbath. Every single county, 95% of counties in the country move right. That is not easy to accomplish. And this is the American people speaking loudly, clearly. They don't like this administration. Not only that, they want Trump back, who ran a campaign unlike any other. You can't take away from that. People like to say, well, it just shows how unpopular Biden or Harris are. It does. But again, the same people that now make that caveat, they're the same people that said this will be a referendum on Trump and he's going to lose. So I don't want to hear it from them. That's not the main takeaway here. Yes, it's like you could look at what happened in even the Lions game tonight. You could say, well, the Texans blew it, but they did. But also the Lions, you don't come back down 16 points in a half, and you've thrown 5 interceptions. And there's 20 minutes left in the game. You're down 16. You come back and win. Now, that takes skill. Obviously, there's luck involved, but also there's skill involved. And the same thing happens here when you're looking at this. Donald Trump won the election. Probably, you could argue, more than Kamala Harris lost it. It's not a close election. This is a beatdown. You're not going to see any other Republican go out there with a cakewalk, carry 400 electoral votes. You're not going to see that happen, especially with abortion as an issue they would have been able to exploit against most other Republicans. Ron DeSantis probably would have fallen short. Nikki Haley, they probably would have let her win, given her glowing media coverage. But even then, even if she would have found a way to win, the map would have looked very different, and a lot of people in chat probably wouldn't have cast their ballots for her. They would have cast one for third-party candidates, you name it. They probably wouldn't have even felt the need to replace Biden at that point. Who knows if that would have helped them or hurt them. Biden got the last laugh. He's living it up right now. He's loving it, and I can't blame him. Him and Trump are going to have lunch. I wonder if he's going to tell Trump who he voted for in private. I'm sure if he would, it would... maybe he wants to get out and he can just deny it. Who knows what's going to happen? It'd be funny. We know who he voted for. We know who his family voted for. They were cast aside. They were thrown to the wolves. And then all the things the conservatives have been saying about Biden for the past 4 years that have been true, the media is willing to admit. And then they say, oh, look, Kamala's so, she's such a good candidate. Yeah, and then she almost loses Illinois. She almost loses New Jersey. Such a good candidate. To, by the way, somebody that they called a convicted felon, a convicted, sexual abuse, all these terms are all garbage. We understand it's all garbage. But technically he did get convicted of felonies, which were politically motivated charges, but he did get convicted of them. We'll see if they get thrown out, so maybe technically get off on that technicality, because you see what's going on with Jack Smith in his cases. He's saying, no, we're not going to pursue this. We're not going to pursue it. We're not going to pursue these charges anymore. He's throwing it in the garbage. Florida's been thrown in the garbage, that case there. Not the state of Florida, of course. A very beautiful ruby red map in Florida. We don't have to talk about that any more than we already have. But Georgia, the Atlanta case is already broken. There's not going to be any jail time for Trump. They're not going to, it's unfeasible. It's unfeasible at this point. He beat them. He was vindicated in the court of public opinion. If it, it's not like 2016 where you could say, people didn't like either candidate, whatever, because of all the third-party vote. There was no third-party vote. The third-party vote was, I think, less than it was in 2020, or just around the same number, despite this big push and these stronger third-party candidates on the ballot. Jill Stein, far more name ID than whoever the hell ran on the Green Party in 2020. So it's like, yeah, Donald Trump went out there. He won this election. Now, we could talk about other developments, because it does seem as if there's this need, and Donald Trump is making it a priority to drain the swamp. We did not have this in 2020, and this means a lot. This arguably means more than the electoral victory itself, because now he's able to go out there. Now he's saying, I don't want Mike Pompeo in the administration. I don't want Nikki Haley. How many times did we hear from people, a lot of bad faith actors on all wings of the right were saying, oh, Trump is going to put Nikki Haley in his cabinet. Remember the DeSantis crowd? It's a done deal, backroom deal for Haley to be VP. It was all garbage. We knew it wasn't. He doesn't even want her in the administration, and I can't blame him. Because, first of all, she's unhelpful. She would do nothing but criticize Trump during the home stretch when Trump won and proved himself right. And number two, obviously, the glaring, elephant in the room, her general neoconservatism. And Donald Trump is somebody that just has a common sense, America first, nationalist, populist worldview. He doesn't need these clowns that are deep state agents subverting his agenda. He doesn't. That was the problem with the first administration. The problem was he had all these people, Mike Pompeo's, Rex Tillerson, Nikki Haley, all these people that were just subverting the administration. John Kelly as his chief of staff, he replaces him with Susie Wiles, which I've talked to a few people about that because, I didn't know what it was going to be like. She is kind of like an old guard conservative, or at least she, was, but she's somebody who is very loyal to Trump, will just execute her position or duties of her position the way she should. And that's what you need. They say, oh, how dare he hire on loyalty? It's like you saw what happened when he didn't hire on loyalty, because it's not just loyalty to the man. Nikki Haley could glaze Donald Trump for how many hours in an interview, and then, Trump could technically hire her. That's loyalty. That's not how it works. We need competency. You do need to be loyal to the president to an extent, of course you do, but more importantly, you could even say loyalty to his agenda, and somebody who's not going to backstab or grift on the other side like all these other clowns did. Not like it matters because he's not going to be up for re-election, but it's like you had a lot of problems with personnel. Those problems are not there anymore that we're seeing. RFK Jr. is having a say in terms of who Trump is picking for his cabinet. And we could talk about, these rumors about Marco Rubio or whatever that means for Secretary of State. And we could actually get into that right now because this is another one, Secretary of State. There's an alleged final report, which again, I don't know if I believe it. These final reports, there's thousands of them. How many VP shortlists had people on it that were never really in consideration? It's possible people at Mar-a-Lago leak stuff, and then they want to see the public reaction, which is what people did with Pompeo. And obviously, we saw what happened. He's not in consideration, nor should he be in consideration to be VP, or not VP, but to be in the cabinet. Secretary of Defense, a lot of people said, doesn't seem like he's going to be picked. I'd love, Tulsi Gabbard to be in one of those positions. People say she's unproven, liberal, whatever, but foreign policy, she's always been in lockstep with Trump's foreign policy agenda. I mean, people forget, even when she was a Bernie supporting Democrat back in 2016, Donald Trump almost put her in his cabinet. Like, that's how far back this really goes. So you look at the short list, you have Vivek Ramaswamy's on the list. I don't think he's high up on it for Secretary of State. And I like Vivek a lot. He needs to be in the administration. I feel like he's more of a domestic policy guy. Not like I don't like his foreign policy, but the vibe that he gives is more of like a Secretary of Commerce, Secretary of something, Secretary of State. I don't know if I see it. Even press secretary, he would do a phenomenal job as press secretary, but I think that his policy skills are going to be used somewhere. Bill Hagerty, who's a senator, I don't really have an opinion on him, to be honest. He seems generic. I don't know. That could go either way. Marco Rubio, and a lot of people are saying Rubio's like a neocon, and I get it because he was in the primaries in 2016, the establishment choice. For his first two terms, he had a neoconservative voting record on a lot of foreign policy measures. But it is true that Marco Rubio is somebody who recently has had this MAGA turn, and he's very loyal in terms of whatever the status quo is. When the status quo was neoconservative, he was a neocon. When Tea Party was a thing, it was that. He's a grifter, but if Trump has the stranglehold on the party, where that's where the GOP is, you're not having these factions divert from it, then Rubio being there is not the end of the world. And I said this about when he was being considered for VP, although I think Vance is a much better choice in retrospect. And I'm not even saying Rubio's my pick for Secretary of State, but one possible upside it could have if it does happen, which, by the way, he did talk Trump out of military intervention in Venezuela. He has improved a lot, but the one thing I'll say about it that could be a good thing is he does have a big tendency to focus on the Western Hemisphere, not the Middle East, not Russia, Ukraine. The focus of a Rubio Secretary of State would probably center on the Western Hemisphere, which means we're returning to the Monroe Doctrine and focusing more on our immediate borders. And, he's coming around to things like he's supporting now mass deportations, a lot of things like that. So again, this is a red flag, but it could have a lot of upside, and you could possibly get a good senator in there in the state of Florida, to fill his Senate seat if he does decide to go for that. Now, another person is Rick Grinnell, who, again, if people want to talk about Rubio, Rick Grinnell, he definitely wears that MAGA hat proudly. And then again, at the same time, you look back to 2016, he was supporting John Kasich, trashing Trump, even after, I think, Access Hollywood. He's got some mixed tendencies. He's got some good quotes that are positive about, having a more nationalistic approach. And then there's some possible actions or career track record that show the opposite. So again, nobody's really perfect, but these are people that all four of them are far better, in my opinion, than Mike Pompeo or Rex Tillerson. And then there's the people, in terms of what's going on right now, that are being considered, the senators, I should say, that are being considered for the Senate Majority Leader. So Mitch McConnell's gone, so we get an upgrade there, hopefully, but the question is by how much? And when we look at the possible power rankings, there's probably three candidates that I could see happen. And maybe there will be a loophole. We could touch on that now, because J.D. Vance is technically the president of the Senate. I don't know how this would really add up, because it is true that was basically the Senate Majority Leader back a couple hundred years ago, before that position was really established in Congress as like a formality. But it's like, if he actually used that and virtually tried to step in and be that Senate Majority Leader, like de facto, that would be massive, because the vice president, technically, they're the president of the Senate, but that power is not usually used. It's only used to like break ties. I don't even know if that's going to really be something we're going to need to do. It's entirely possible it could, because, Collins, Murkowski, some other rhino defecting, siding with, the left on a few bills. Yeah, it's a big possibility. But Vance, if he stepped in that role, yeah, I think he'd do great. I don't know if it's going to be constitutionally feasible, but I've heard it thrown around. But Rick Scott has Vance's endorsement, has a lot of other people's endorsement to be the Senate Majority Leader. And honestly, while he's not perfect, he supported things like red flag laws, but then he gets called out on it and then he changes his tune. He challenged McConnell when it was not popular to challenge McConnell. He's somebody that I believe is going to be loyal to Trump and receptive to Trump's base. And he has the support of the grassroots, which is something you would like to have in your Senate Majority Leader. It would be a massive upgrade. I know his 2022 spending was awful, although it's mainly at the directive of McConnell that was why the spending went the way it did. So we'll see what happens there. But either way, Rick Scott is probably the best realistic option. The other two are John Thune and John Cornyn. Now, John Thune is awful, and John Cornyn is not really all that either. And you probably have people will argue about who's worse. I think the answer is Thune. Donald Trump called him Mitch's bitch for a reason, because that's exactly what he is. Mitch McConnell's bitch, his successor. South Dakota, you talk to people in South Dakota, they despise the guy. His voting record, when push comes to shove, is really spotty, and Cornyn's is as well. But when you look at somebody like John Thune, he's been there forever. This is the natural successor to McConnell. He probably should be avoided. I support Rick Scott. If it had to come down to Cornyn or Thune, it almost certainly, in my opinion, would have to be Cornyn. And the reason why I rank him higher, despite not liking the guy at all, is because he's going to have to get in line, because he understands that 2 years from now, 2026, not even, because the primary in Texas is an early primary, March of 2026, so about 16 months from now, 17 months, he's got a primary challenge that he may be facing. So he's going to have to operate on his best behavior, or he's going to lose a lot of support, and it's possible that he's going to go down if he doesn't. So if it came down to those two, because people are like, why is Josh Hawley supporting Cornyn? Probably that would be the rationale. I could be wrong. I don't want it to come down to that. I'd like to have an actual Senate Majority Leader that represents, or at least is somewhat receptive to the interests of the base. But Washington is Washington. So Trump needs to make sure that, he's got all these demands. He put a few of them out on his Twitter. Thune was non-committal to that. John Cornyn jumped on it and said he would do it. Rick Scott, I assume, is already on board with it. These recess confirmations, so Donald Trump is able to, get through a lot more justices on that Supreme Court than he ordinarily would, or not just the Supreme Court. I mean, like the federal courts, the appellate courts, appointing the openings, the vacancies. That's what he's going to have to do. So again, It's a long process. We're trying to make sure we can move that center of gravity, but definitely no to Thune. I don't like Cornyn. He's a rhino. Rick Scott is not perfect, but he's probably the best realistic option for sure. He'd be relatively solid in that role. His seat's not going anywhere. We understand that. So again, it's just one of those things. I'm sure some people will talk about that in the Super Chat. Speaking of Super Chats, let's get to the Super Chats. We have a decent amount of them. We got 2,400 live viewers. Hit that like button and subscribe as well, because it's not over. It's just beginning. And I don't say that to be, I guess you would say to have a cliche or to sound redundant, but it's true. It's 100% true. Ice Cream Junkie says, are we still 100% sure Trump wins the popular vote? His lead is sure. Yeah, it does not matter. California, they're counting votes in California, but if you look at California, 72% of the votes are in. He leads by 3 million votes nationwide. There's not enough votes there. I mean, even if you counted all of those votes, Kamala Harris would need to win like 90% of those votes plus. That's not going to happen. The popular vote is Donald Trump's. The question is, does he stay above 50? He might not, but he's pretty damn close to it. So that's kind of what matters. He won it. He's got the mandate to govern. He's got the Senate. He's got the House. The question is, how do you get, people in those positions of power that can actually perform well? And I think Mike Johnson with Trump, like I've said, is going to be a much better speaker than he was with Biden. The problem with Mike Johnson is he's too nice. If he wants to keep the government open under Trump, he's going to have to abide by the demands of Donald Trump. It's not going to be like a cave fest where he's just going to cave and put everything, up front that Biden wants, which he didn't do everything. But, as a Speaker of the House, realistic option, not the worst pick, not the greatest pick either. When it comes down to the Senate, that's kind of where we're looking for an upgrade, because the Senate is weak. We don't have a sizable majority, and we should have a much bigger majority, but somebody decided to spend money poorly. Michigan, Wisconsin, Nevada, Arizona, those 4 seats decided by like 1% on average. You can't have that happen. You cannot have that happen. It's a disgrace, a total disgrace. You're this close. And Laxalt in 2022 should have still been able to win. Yeah, we should have also gotten a better recruit than Herschel Walker. I get it. And I know a lot of people are talking about the recruits in Nevada, Arizona this cycle. But regardless, this should have been a 57, if not, looking back in retrospect, 59-41 Senate if they did their job. 59-41. Even giving the Democrats Pennsylvania, giving the Democrats Arizona in 2022, it should be a 59-41 Senate, and it's not. And it is what it is. But even then, if you lowered the filibuster to like 55, something feasible, I think that we never see Democrats get to that level ever, at least in future, or I guess you'd say the near future. Like you get to work. That's what's important. You got to get to work. So again, I'm 100% sure Trump's going to win the popular vote, but we're not sure what the final popular vote's going to be. He should win it by around 1-2. Johnny Heartdog says, I just want to give you some thank yous and credit for where it's, or not to me, to RFK. If not for him, the Rust Belt would have gone for Harris or close enough to steal Elon Musk. The above would have been true for Pennsylvania. Yeah, I mean, everybody helped. I don't want to play the what or if game. I know we just played it with the Senate, but with these third-party candidates, it's like, yeah, it was true. Donald Trump had a big help, and he got help from a source, and he won with more anti-establishment voters. Even the Libertarian Convention, going to the Libertarian Convention and having them nominate Chase Oliver, somebody who's not libertarian, is a full-on leftist, is somebody who believes that the government should fund sex change operation, just like Harris believed. That's honestly one of those things. I was like watching some of those ads. I'm like, oh, the they, them ad. It's a good ad. It's catchy, but is it going to work? Because are people going to view this as Harris being radical? And I said, yeah, probably. And some people disagreed with me, but I thought that he'd be able to kind of use that as like a good message to hammer it home. And that ad just blared on airwaves, and it was effective, especially in a place like Texas. Like that helped peel off a lot of more socially moderate to right-leaning, like Hispanic voters in certain places. But it's true. Also, Johnny Hot Dog says Tulsi Gabbard helped with a lot of Democrats, which the Republican help gave the popular vote. If not for the popular vote, the transition would not. Oh, absolutely not. You have a mandate to govern. The popular vote matters. Trump was 100% vindicated in campaigning in California, campaigning in New York. He should have campaigned in Chicago. Hell, Illinois. I mean, if he did a Chicago rally, he tried to do one in 2016. The protesters shut it down. He wouldn't be able to have them shut it down this time because the fatigue is there. They've ran around. It's like a cat chasing a laser pointer for the past 9 years, and they couldn't catch it. They couldn't catch him. Like it's honestly impressive because the whole establishment is crumbling just by this guy's existence and presence. It's crumbling. It's crumbling at his feet just because everything that they've tried from, the lawfare to the actual fair, we see them try to, how many people have tried to take this guy out? You think that's just organic? And be my guess, but I'd happen to push back on that a little bit. Like, this is serious in terms of what they've tried to do to this guy. In every single possible angle, they could have stopped him, and nothing worked. And it worked out better this way. If they let Trump win in 2020, it would have been so much easier for them. Donald Trump would have had a Democrat House. He would not have likely been able to flip it back in 26. He would not have been able to get much done. I mean, I still think, inflation would have been less, but the economy would it have been as strong? I mean, you could debate. I mean, it was on track to be, but there were probably some mishaps that he would not have been able to avoid. I think that foreign affairs would be better. I think that we would have actually been in a much better place right now as a nation by far. There's no debate about that. But just to see him come back with a new cabinet, not full of neocons, with actual people that will be effective at implementing his agenda, and to see him come back with this tendency to actually, even though he's not even campaigning on it much, he wants to drain the swamp. We see what's going on. He surrounded himself with people that are well-intentioned, that care about government efficiency. They want to drain the swamp. All these people that say, oh, Trump is a big government Republican. That's not conservative. First of all, it's about limited, effective, efficient government. And that's what you get with Donald Trump if he's able to go out there and drain the swamp. It's not about, he wants to spend on immigration or whatever, like border security, which is next to nothing, by the way, next to nothing. But you see what's going on. We're going to be able to likely cut spending at the rate things are going if people like Elon Musk have any say in it, because these people understand how the efficiency works. And the establishment, what are they going to do? They might as well just join the guy. They might as well just start fighting against everything they've been fighting for their entire lives, because at least they'll be winning. At least they'll be winning. Like, it's possible that even if at the rate things are going, 2026 could very well be at least a reverse 2022 at a minimum. Like, we have to keep up with the ground game, get these people out to vote for sure in these midterm years. Just all around, got to make sure we're the ones banking our ballots and getting people to the polls, making sure people vote, making sure we can recruit solid candidates. We understand that, but that's like a protect Trump's legacy election more so than anything else. It's about, can you hold the House? Because I think the Senate you're going to hold, even if you lose Maine, North Carolina, and what other seat do Republicans even have? Like, they'd have to lose Alaska. It's still 50-50 tie at that point. Like, it's just not going to happen. Like, Democrats already do well in special elections, but Trump's presidency will be far more popular because you now have a media that is becoming decentralized. He went on to podcasts. He went into all these things. Like, it's incredible what we're seeing. It's absolutely an incredible campaign. And the Democrats, what are they going to do? Like, are they going to realize they're on the wrong side of history? They had to be bailed out with a COVID-fueled election that juiced up turnout in many cases artificially because of these election law changes in 2020. And that was barely enough for them to get by when the world was on fire, when Donald Trump was in the White House surrounded by these neocons subverting his agenda. That was barely enough. And you actually ran a candidate that was, flawed. Biden was not perfect, but they covered for him. They can't do that now. Elon Musk has the power on social media. And the other companies have to follow suit, or they're going to lose people to him due to censorship and just due to the general nature of him being a power player and making sure he can set the market. And he's done that. How many times did we hear, oh, it's going to be going away. Twitter is going to die. He's changing the name to X. You can see people's tweets of people you've blocked and vice versa. I didn't even like the last one. I still have, problems with it depending on how you tend to block people. You got to make sure the block is mutual, but even then it's not the end of the world. Every single thing Elon does that I doubt it eventually does not impact anything negatively. I'm surprised. So hopefully him being in the governorship, or not the governorship, him being in the government as Department of Government Efficiency, or if it's just an informal advisor, he's definitely somebody that is going to be capable of righting the ship in many aspects of our government that Trump probably, is he like the best at of like pointing out the waste and crunching the numbers? I mean, he's got a big job to do as president. Let Elon do it. It's, you're electing a team. It's not just like electing one man. This team sucks. We're getting a good one. And honestly, a lot of Trump's team around him, yeah, we had a great 4 years. There's no doubt about it. But, look at who was in power. Mike Pompeo, Nikki Haley, Mike Pence. Like those people, they're out of the way. Those people are not anywhere near the center of gravity. Like the fact that we're saying, Marco Rubio might be iffy, when in reality he's improved a lot, is a testament to how much that we've improved the center of gravity in this party and how much Donald Trump was able to make it in his image. And honestly, look, he's setting the tone. A lot of these rhinos, they vie for power, it's true. A lot of them will vie for the donor money, but they also have to vie for victory. And they understand that if that's where the center of gravity is going, like a lot of them even have to get in line, because it's like, oh, well, maybe, me supporting this policy is popular. And now I have to stay in power because, the establishment is crumbling. It's true. And we're seeing it happen time and time again. It's great. It's absolutely great. We're in for a very few interesting months, but also 4 years. Absolutely. Some person says Republicans are structurally favored to hold the Senate for years to come. Let's do what the Dems couldn't do, abolish the Well, we got to make sure that we have enough people. Collins is not going to do it. Murkowski's not going to do it. If we abolish honestly, it should be, you could argue, at least lowered to like 55, but we're not going to have 55. So yeah, if the Democrats wanted to do it, would have bit us in the rear end. Now, I will say you got to be careful, because if you have a Democrat Senate, then they're going to try to pack the court, do X, Y, and Z. But no, it is true. We are likely going to never relinquish the Senate if we have a very good 2026, which I think can happen. It might mean you get Brian Kemp in Georgia, but who else is going to run for that seat that can beat him? Like, let's be completely honest. So Collins in Maine, is she going to run for that? Nobody else can really win that seat. Michigan's a tough fight for sure, but it's not like you're going to have any, like, could Youngkin win in Virginia? It's a tough task. Maybe if it was a Harris midterm, it could happen, but thankfully we're not going to have to witness a Harris midterm, hopefully ever. So Johnny Hart Dog says, don't like RFK, Gabbard, and Musk, but credit is due. No, if Trump would have won. No, he would have. He probably could have won without them, but it definitely gave Trump a boost for sure. Especially in like Michigan, Wisconsin, where that type of like populism resonates well. Maryland Degati 83 says, should we worry about Elias overturning McCormick's? No, he can't do anything. It would be blatantly theft at that point, and in a way where it would not go unnoticed, because there's not enough ballots. Any ballots outstanding are in Cambria County in favor of McCormick. It's been that way for a few days. EC Film says, could you go through a list of people for cabinet positions such as defense, labor, transportation? Where would Ben Carson and Tulsi Gabbard go? Well, we're not quite there yet. I could do it, and I will do it. But there's so many things, so many departments, I'm not sure. I'm not even sure what we're going to do with AG, with the Attorney General slot. RZ410 says, we need episode 1 of the official Red Eagle Live podcast. Next era of rep, let's go. Any future plans or ideas you can share? Well, I've thought about doing that in terms of condensing the live streams, make them more structured, put them in more of like a podcast form, maybe get a few ad reads in there. It's possible. We could do that. Maybe we'll start doing that sometime I get the actual time to. Right now, I've been kind of on vacation away just because of the fact that it's like, yeah, we just had our big win. It's been great. I've taken a couple days off here and there. I did want to live stream tonight for sure. But yeah, we might do that. We might do that eventually. I'm serious about that. We might actually get it done. I can't believe YouTube allows really long names. Wow, insane for 10. Says Democrats spat in the faces of their own party members when they ignored the primary results. Now it's about the letter next to the name. In the 70s, it would have been 45 to 49 states. Or if we had a media that actually was competent, it would be. There's a reason why like millennials are moving right. That's kind of why we're seeing like this age depolarization. The people that watch the media, like the older voters, first of all, it's true that like something like 1/6 is more likely to change the vote of somebody who's like 70, watches mainstream media. And obviously, it's unlikely there's many of those people because people are old and they're usually stubborn, set in their voting patterns regardless. But, compared to some younger people that can understand, know the facts, do their own research, maybe they watch podcasts, they get their news from there, it's a little different. You have a different vibe. It's not what it used to be. And it's harder to censor when it's decentralized. They've tried, but now you have Elon as a power player. And I know that they would have actually gone after him had they won. It's a good thing they haven't won. They didn't get to go after him. We'll see what they can do. But if the DOJ is like throwing in the towel, or a lot of those people are like, I've had it, because after a certain time or a certain point in time, you have to realize that this is not going to work. He just won big. He has a mandate. He won the popular vote by like 2 when it's all said and done, maybe a little bit less. But decisively in the states that mattered. No state was within, like in terms of the states in his path to 270, no state was within like 150,000 votes. That is not an easy feat to accomplish. Red Whale Politics for 2. Johnny Hartdog says Trump wins Arizona by over 5, but Lake loss needs to be investigated. I mean, I get it. They can investigate, but ticket splitting is a real phenomenon. I've talked about this. There's a reason why you can look at a state like Arizona and you see, they've always split tickets. John McCain outran Trump by 9 points in 2016. Kerry Lake underperforming is interesting, but it is true there are a lot of Trump Gallego voters. There's Trump Gallego signs I hear people talk about, and it's like an AstroTurf movement. He ran a campaign that was effective. He's very far left, but he got a lot of people, especially like these new Trump voters, these Hispanic first-time Trump voters. They still voted for Gallego down ballot. That I feel like is where he was able to have that upper hand. And Lake is very polarizing. So it's not done in terms of the count. We ran a model. She's got a 5.7% shot to win right now. It's unfortunate. But again, it's a mix of, ticket splitting. And if they want to look into it, they can look into it. But again, if you run behind Trump by 8, that's at what point is ticket splitting valid as an excuse when the third party is a liberal third party? I like Kerry Lake, but, it's like, I think that if I knew Trump would win by 7, I would really think she'd win by 2. But that's just, it's insane. That Arizona likes to split their tickets. It's crazy, but it is what it is. EC Films says, should Trump buy Greenland? Yeah, why not? Free oil. FM32047 says, since he didn't concede, I'm scared Pennsylvania will find ballots for Casey. Screw McCormick over. So happy Trump won, but bummed out about Hovde. Yeah, Hovde and Lake, but Hovde especially getting so close. And that race, I think, is more shenanigan prone. Again, Trump beat it, so it's not like Hovde couldn't have beaten it. But it's soul-crushing. The Hovde loss is soul-crushing. Mike Garcia losing. Lake's loss, given the ticket split, is that's going to leave it's going to make people sick to their stomachs, even in victory. I can't blame it. I can't blame people for feeling that way, because I feel that way. But I don't think Bob Casey's not going to win. There's not enough votes. This is not within thousands. They're trying so hard to run these lawsuits. How many times have they failed? McCormick won fair and square. We understand it. They're the ones now denying. We'll see if these lawsuits pay off, especially because the RNC actually has a team that fights back against them now. They never fought back before. Michigan Nationalist is 1 out of 5 in the BOGO purple Senate seats equals black pill. Well, I never said Arizona was BOGO. I didn't think Nevada would be that close, actually. Well, I think I did predict it being relatively close, but when I said BOGO, I didn't think Sam Brown had much of a shot. No, those were not BOGO. I thought, yeah, Michigan, which I'm shocked Michigan had that ticket split, but Michigan, Wisconsin was close to BOGO. Pennsylvania, that was the only Senate race I got wrong, is if you flip Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, because we did really well with predictions of this cycle, not even close. Like 2022, that's the exception to the rule for people that are new. Tide says, well, you were right. Thank God. Well, yeah, exactly. That's all you can do at a time like this. Buck Hunter 431 says, when will you do updated tier list? Probably next month. We will do them. Let's make sure we know who's going to be in the Senate first. Obviously, I think McCormick is going to be there. I think Lake is going to fall short, but you never know. Tide said, well, we did that one. Alex has kicked Mitch out and the rest of the Rhino Senate. True. Michigan Nationalist says both Georgia and Michigan. Peters is vulnerable. I mean, he's going to get all these unions to vote for him. I don't know who the nominee is going to be in Michigan for the Republicans. I think Mike Duggan is going to run for governor. He's going to win easily. He's going to be more of like a moderate Democrat, electoral juggernaut type guy. He's the mayor of Detroit. He's got very high name ID, high favorability, even among some Republicans. If he runs and wins a primary, I don't think he's going to lose, and he will have some coattails. So I think we could run somebody solid against both of those people. I just feel like, wasting like a star recruit might be a futile effort, but maybe for the Senate race, and then they could run in 28 if it goes well. So FM32047 says, old crusty Lichtman's keys are looking rusty. Yes, they are. They are over. Lichtman's another one. Selzer, worst pollster this year. She'll never be remembered as the quote-unquote gold standard. She's going to be remembered as somebody who was way off that one time, and it's a laughingstock. Lichtman as well. He hedged everything this cycle. Oh, well, the keys were right every other year. Well, the keys were right this year if you applied them correctly, genius, but they weren't. Okay, they weren't because you let your own bias get in the way. Now he's like, oh, because the American people are stupid. It's misinformation. I said that back in April that would be the excuse when Donald Trump won, and that's exactly what his excuse was. Maryland Degatti 83 says, will Rick Scott get enough votes in the Senate? Well, Trump has to whip those votes if he wants Scott. He might stay out of it because he doesn't want to make an enemy out of the person if they settle. I mean, I wish if it came down to like Cornyn or Scott, it's like you'd rather like somebody like Daines be the middleman where he knows Trump well, won't be completely a disaster, so whatever. All New Year 2024 says one of the best parts of this win is all the people that were celebrating and dancing in the streets when he lost in 2020 are now miserable and can't do anything about it. Yeah, it's not like it was a close race. You can't deny the election results, as they love to say. They can't do it, especially because they set the rules. It's going to be hard for them to do it. They have to be like, oh, we overplayed our hand. We should have let it. They're saying, or they should say that we should have let them win in 2020. They should have for their sake. Thankfully, it didn't happen. Thankfully, it worked out the way it did. If we have a good 4 years, that's a caveat. I think we will have a good 4 years. But when I ask people this in chat every time, they're like 99% say, I'd rather him come back and win and it'd be, this glorious and have a better administration, save the country than the past 4 years. But again, I understand people have been struggling with everything, including myself, not necessarily like struggling financially, but it's like even if you're doing well and you're well off, you still have to pay more for everything, don't you? Every single person does. Every single person's paying a tax. And it does disproportionately impact people in, lesser income brackets more. Of course it does. And that's partially why Trump was able to win and expand his coalition. But he played to it well. He played to it very well. Nick M says, as wrong as Nate Silver was, I'm glad he was more accurate than Lichtman. Yeah, it's insane. That guy is the most arrogant I've ever seen. Oh, no, you don't have a track record of a historical model. It's like, well, you have a track record that just got a hell of a lot worse, even though you've applied them inconsistently. Technically, if he abided by the rules of his own keys, he would have predicted a Hillary win in 2016. He didn't do it. He hedged his bets, and then he flipped it on its head. Johnny Heartdog for 10 says, in the near future, I'd really, really like to say a video with your prediction map and the actual map to see where you were right and where Trump overperformed. Well, I mean, I could tell you, but we could do a prediction recap. Like I said, the House, we're probably going to nail the number. It's either going to be 221 or 222. I said 222. Now, in terms of the seats, I was not perfectly accurate in terms of gauging the seats. Red whale politics is, can Arizona and Nevada be the next mini Ohio? Well, it's interesting because these swing states are different. Arizona and Nevada, large Hispanic population, but the Hispanic vote in the suburbs, we hear about the suburbs all the time, Texas, Arizona, Nevada, that vote is very working class, just like the vote in Macomb County, Michigan, or Bucks County, Pennsylvania, which Donald Trump flipped back into his column. Or I don't think he ever had it in 2016. He flipped it for the first time. But when you're looking at those states, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of, if you're seeing a little bit of racial depolarization, at least with Hispanic voters, which you did see a lot of it, you're going to see Republicans do a hell of a lot better in the Sun Belt. You just will. But where are the Democrats doing well anyways? Like, it is true trends exist, but like past a certain point, they're losing people. They need to radically transform their party in order to win a presidential election ever again. So long as the GOP stays where it's at right now, they're not going to be able to win with this nonsense. They have to radically change. Instead, they're talking about how young men need to be in re-education therapy because they happen to, I don't know, think for themselves and don't listen to the mainstream media, while calling Republicans the authoritarians, the fascists, any name you want to say. That's what's going on right now. And they don't learn. These people don't learn. They're incapable of learning. 2018, they did learn a little bit because you still had some competent people in the party. What they did was they picked like some veterans, CIA people like Slotkin and Spanberger to run for those competitive races. And they were able to flip those seats in several, states, and they were able to hold them even when Trump did well in 2020 in a few of those seats. Now it's a little bit different. They've gerrymandered the House. I don't want to hear about gerrymandering from Republicans ever again. You win the popular vote by 4 in the House. You, I think, gain like 1 seat on net at most. Really? Like that's what's happening? Like New York, ironically, if the Democrats had that really gerrymandered map in New York in 2022, we would have done better. We would have actually done better. It's insane. I can't believe YouTube allows long names. Says Trump might win D.C. and other deep blue areas if Dems don't forget about, that the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact doesn't even go into effect until enough states sign on for 270. So that's technically not true. And again, it's ridiculous that they would even consider allowing it, and they wouldn't. It'd be struck down immediately if it did go into effect because it's unconstitutional. It's going to take an amendment. King94 says, what's our game plan for the midterms? How much can we grow the majority without filling it with McConnell-type rhinos? Thanks for the commentary. Well, Georgia, if everything, like let's say Trump has a 65% approval rating. Let's just play this game. Not going to happen probably. I'd like for it to happen. But let's say he actually goes out there, fixes everything perfectly in the first 2 years. He's riding high. Approval in the 50s. Republicans keep up with the ground game. They do recruit star candidates. They say, we're going on offense this time. They go out there and they flip Michigan, Georgia, and they hold Collins runs, they hold Maine. They flip Virginia, Youngkin runs even, because things are going so well. Like at that point, and maybe even I don't want to say Minnesota, but if you saw something like that, that would be insane. I don't think it's going to happen that way because we always see what happens. But it is true. Democrats are screwed. They don't obviously the ground game is working. I mean, if they're able to win a special election, yeah, they'll win a special. But if Republicans can get these people out to the polls, Democrats will never win an election in their current form ever again, unless they're able to capitalize on an issue, which maybe they will. But I don't see what issue. If they couldn't even do it on abortion, the economy would have to go south, and I don't think that's going to happen. The mere threat of tariffs, they always fearmonger on the left about tariffs. They used to like tariffs back when the left actually cared about working class voters or people in general. But tariffs, Donald Trump already, because of the mere threat of tariffs, you have countries in Europe right now. Donald Trump wins not even a week after. They're saying, yeah, we're going to buy American natural gas. Companies saying, oh, well, maybe we will build in the United States. That's how you get it done. It's art of the deal. The guy's a madman. They're afraid of him, and they should be, because he means it. He'll back up what he says. He's saying, no, I'm tired of this country getting pushed around. I'm tired of this country getting screwed, the American dream being gutted, the American dream being dead. We're going to change this. We're going to change your economic system if you don't fall in line with these demands. And they're doing it. He literally is just going to do it. It's incredible. Absolutely incredible so far. DePueb says, how do you plan on celebrating? Well, we already celebrated it. We did a good election night live stream. We have this stream. We will be making other content, other videos. It's going to be good. Johnny Hart Dog says, Trump overperformed. The Senate was about what is expected and the House underperformed. Yeah. And it is true. You have a lot of incumbents. People know those people. Michigan, it's frustrating. There are people that voted in terms of presidential and midterm elections. This is a common voting record in Michigan. Trump, Whitmer, Trump, Whitmer, Trump. I don't get it. Again, I think that the average voter is not going to be as politically in tune as a lot of you guys in the live chat, but it's the way it is. It's frustrating. I get it. Now, the Senate Republicans overperformed expectations like crazy compared to a couple months ago, especially Carrie Lake. They had all these polls. Oh, she's down 15. She only, will fall short by like 1 to 2 when it's all said and done. That's not that egregious. But like I said, the polls would tighten. We didn't see any, except North Carolina's gubernatorial race. We don't have to touch base on that. We can forget that happened. Ice Cream Junkie says, Ann Alka-Seltzer is going to have an embarrassing legacy. 17% inaccuracies, pathetic. Yeah, exactly. You could sit back there. Eat your Big Macs and say, where did I go wrong? You could ponder it all you want. But you know what? No, because you got paid off. That's what happened. She got a lot of people. The election mafia, they're either coping or paid off. How many times did we hear about the firewall in Pennsylvania? $390K. Oh, really? You could take that firewall and shove it right up your ass. You understand who I'm getting. All these people, every single one of them, anyone who believed the lies of some wannabe Ralston kid who really thought he was doing something, gaslighting his followers. It's honestly disgusting, disgraceful, even for them, to be set up for failure by these gaslighting lunatics. Then they sit back here, oh, it was a big miss. All the experts got it wrong. No, you got it wrong because you're trash. You don't know what the hell you're doing. You don't look at the fundamentals. You got it wrong. I got it right. You got it wrong. And you still want to say, oh, the experts are only the people that matter. Maybe the experts are not the real experts, dipshit. Maybe I'm the real expert. Maybe you're a clown who claimed that, because counties were moving this way in 2022, it's going to carry over to a presidential year. Oh, yeah, Harris is going to do better in Pennsylvania than Scranton Joe, despite the macro environment being horrendous. Really? You want to sit up here and make these claims and gaslight your own followers, leading them straight off a pier just because, I don't know, you want the dopamine. You want your fake short-lived clout. Nobody's going to listen to anything you have to say ever again. That goes for a lot of people. A lot of people that specifically said, oh, the Red Eagle poll is low quality because it's not from a mainstream institution. Yeah, shove the institution polls right up your rear end, okay? We'll keep the language to a minimum, guys. It's true. But take those mainstream media polls and shove it where they belong. Do it. Because clearly my poll was the 4th most accurate poll nationwide. The other polls you talk more trash about than my poll. And you want to sit up here and say that we're the ones getting it wrong. No, you're the ones getting it wrong. You're not good experts. We need better experts. And that's why people listen to me instead of listening to people like you. This is why we have 100,000 on Twitter and you have 30,000 on Twitter. Look at the numbers, check the scoreboard. We could check the scoreboard on Tuesday night. See how good that is. Looks pretty good to me. So enough of these clowns, all these clowns, every single one of them. So what can I say? Victory indeed. So Scott B says, how do you feel about Vivek for AG? We need a real AG who will hold deep state Dems accountable for any. Does he have a law degree? I don't know if he has one. Maybe he does. Johnny Hart Dog says the keys were a great model, were not applied correctly. Lichtman's a dick. I watched his stream for entertainment purposes, and when people asked digit questions. He was very rude. Yeah, exactly. No, he is. He is somebody who is his ego is way too big for his own good. Way too big. You just can't do it. You just can't have that ego that massive when you're going to set yourself up for obvious failure. Maybe you're blinded by your own bias, but anybody could see it. I kind of undersold the predictions I made. I didn't know if Trump would win the popular vote, but I had a gut feeling it would. I should have listened to my gut this time. I listened too much to my head. But I still thought he would win. We were one state off, and I kind of did that a little bit on purpose because usually when I pick Michigan to go red, it doesn't go red, the exception of 2020. But, when it does go red, I always pick it blue. So it's like, yeah, well, maybe we'll just predict it blue, and then boom, there we go. But either way, I mean, you can count that as a state I got wrong. I'm not trying to get away from that, but I was iffy on that. I was like, yeah, which way do we go? I should have gone with my gut, but it doesn't matter. Beast Bumblebee says early prediction for next GOP presidential nominee Vance easily. Johnny Hot Dog says he was rude, angry, short, and condescending. Of course, he thinks he's a prophet. He thinks he's a god of sorts. He's not. I'm not. I get things wrong. But he doesn't know what he's talking about half the time. You claim you're a professor, the number one election professor in the country, and you don't even understand how to fill out the states on the map properly. You're the one that looks at a Seltzer poll, doesn't even scrutinize the poll. I'm not talking about crosstab diving because that's astrology for poll analysts in most cases. But top line diving, you could see that Donald Trump was not losing any support in the Seltzer poll from 2020. The independent sample was horrible. It was a Biden +5. If you weighed it by even recall vote, which you shouldn't even do, but because the poll was so bad, had she done that, it would have been relatively accurate. She still would have had a career, and she didn't. I don't even know what state she polled. Probably Vermont. Maybe San Francisco. I don't know. But it's ridiculous. All these people, they like to say, oh, no, this is the way. This is the way, and it was never the way. The same people that act like they got everything right in 2020 when they didn't. They were right in 2022, but do I really think that a lot of them were right on their own, accord? Did any of them get the right takeaways from 22 the way we did? No. So I don't want to hear that either. Like I said, when you have a less educated electorate, Republicans do better. Although, ironically, Trump did better among voters that were educated as well when these people said it wouldn't happen. He did better in Chester County, Pennsylvania, Oakland County, Michigan. He did better in college towns. Smart people are not all socially liberal cucks. They're not. In fact, those people are not smart. And education level does not mean you're smart. But there are a lot of smart people that have degrees that are waking up to the nonsense. Why wouldn't they? It's evident to anybody with half a brain who the right choice was. It just is. And now he's got a mandate because enough people realized it. Luke Newman says Gabe Evans won. I saw that. Lovely Six says condemns push out Sotomayor. She says she's not getting pushed out. Darth Chipmunk says young voter who voted for Trump in Michigan. I'm not banning the alt. We've been over this, but I appreciate the effort in the super chats. Michigan Nationalist says this hunting season, deer, rhinos, and yeah. Honestly, it's funny. If you gave the UP to Wisconsin, Eric Hovde would have won, and Trump still would have won Michigan. We should have done that. And we get rid of the Packers fans. They could stay over there. They could stay over on the Wisconsin side. Johnny Hot Dog says ranked choice voting measure to get rid of it is up by 2%, and now they're saying it's going to be 15 days before that measure. Yeah, it might not. Did they rank choice the ranked choice measure? That'd be interesting. Luke Newman says, can they flip the... Oh, yeah, they could flip the Alaska seat easily. It just depends. The third-party candidates in ranked choice voting, those votes are going to go to Nick up there. They're going to go to the Republican. We have a lot of super chats. We might have to speed through some of these guys. It's getting late, but I'm going to get to all of them. I promised. Johnny Hot Dog says, did the nation move right or move towards Trump only to return to their... Well, it depends how the Democrats act. It depends how well Trump's administration goes. I mean, they got completely destroyed. It was not even close. You can say it was close. You can cope and say it was somewhat... It was not close. It was not a close election. Tasmanot says, I trolled your channel in the past, but it was always on your side. I'm sorry I was blackpilling and trying to provoke debate at times in the comments. Well, either way, we won. Thomas Willingham says, we're here in North Carolina, need to get Tillis gone in 26. I won't vote for him again. Do you think someone would challenge? Probably not. He's going to have to fall in line. I don't encourage people to vote, just sit out midterms either, because we need as many seats as we can get, but Republicans need to do a better job at catering to the base. So we'll see. Eris Walker says, will Kamala run in 28? I think she will, and it'll go. Oh, if she runs in 28, the party will never get behind her. That's the thing. But the thing is that the party, the old competent, like old guard in the party, I've said it for a while, like they're on their last legs. They're dying. The old guard in the party, they're retiring, or some of them are like physically, literally passing away. Fact of life. It's not, I'm not taking any pride or joy in that, but a lot of these people in the Democrat Party, the old guard that was competent, they're fading out of politics. The new guard are young and competent people who are like the SJW soy jack. Like that's your, like Harry Sisson. That's your Democrat operative now. Not somebody with any pulse on the electorate. Somebody who just shills for the woke establishment. It's not good. Not good for their party. I don't know if they can root it out. Big E says Alan Lichtman should fire his locksmith and Larry Sabato should throw his, Larry, that guy was unhinged. I've never seen anything like that. That guy takes taxpayer dollars. Larry Sabato and his tiny little crystal balls, his plastic balls. How much money does he get in taxpayer dollars to predict elections poorly and lash out at people? And he's so partisan. They say nonpartisan. I've never seen anyone more partisan. That's the frustrating thing. It's like, oh, well, you won. Why are you upset? It's because the same gaslighters are wrong again, and they try to use the same tactics to bully people who are right into submission, and it blows up. It's glorious, actually, but they don't get it. They still don't get it. Well, the experts got it wrong because the experts suck. Stop looking up to the experts. They're wrong. I can be wrong, but I can admit when I'm wrong. They never admit they're wrong. They're just like, oh, look what happened. Yeah, we saw what happened. Your tiny little firewall didn't do anything. Oh, well, Republicans, 15-20% of Republicans are going to Kamala. How did that work out? She got less of the Republican vote than Biden in 2020, than Hillary in 2016. And you want to sit up here and tell me that she did well? Oh, yeah, the Cheneys. How did the Cheneys help? Crybaby Kinzinger, did he move any voters? No, he didn't. Of course he didn't. Red Whale Politics is the garbage woke identity politics blew up in their face. Trump got 45 with Hispanics, 15% with blacks. Yeah, he won a quarter of young black men. He won over a quarter of black men under 45. That is not easy. Republicans don't do that, but he did it. The same guy they said was like, oh, he doesn't like black people, which was never founded in any reality whatsoever. Anybody who knows the guy, he treats he believes in meritocracy more than pretty much anybody does. He treats everybody with the same level of either respect or disrespect. And there's a lot of disrespect, but that's the way he operates. But it never has added up to me ever. And notice how he did it. Did he pander? Did he give a platinum plan? Did he do tout the criminal justice reform bill, which honestly, if you look into it, wasn't as bad as originally thought it was. In terms of the rates of reoffending, it was much lower than I thought. A lot of people said it was very high. It was not perfect, but again, he didn't tout it necessarily a lot. What he focused on was the issues, and he won immigration, and he won. It's about that more so than about trying to pander. If you try to be diet woke, you don't win. Diet woke does not win elections. In fact, it alienates people because it shows that you're not authentic. People that are looking to try something new, they're going to gravitate towards something more authentic. Trump ran on mass deportations and set a record among Hispanic voters. Think about that. Spence Callis says, will we flip the Alaska? It's possible. American Nerd 76 says, Justin, Trump has offered the UN ambassador position to Elise Stefanik. Thoughts? I don't know. I don't know if that's true. I also am unsure if that's a good pick. She definitely is loyal to Trump, But in terms of her record, it's a little iffy, but it's gotten better. She's kind of like the female Rubio in a way. Oppie for 10 says we need to primary out John Cornyn. He's been a horrible... Well, we'd try. We need to find a candidate that can win both the primary and the general. And we need to see what happens with this majority leader race as well. But we need to find a candidate who's capable. Eris Walker says likelihood of a AWB ever passing federally now? Assault weapon? Oh, none. None. Trump is not signing that. He's made it clear. He got enough. The second the bump stock thing happened, he lost a lot of people. I mean, he didn't lose a lot of people, but like he lost enough people to the point where he realized, yeah, this is a negative thing. And by the way, the NRA was who supported it too. So they're not off the hook either. Manny says Trump's making good picks, but Brian Hook isn't one. It's Brian Hook. Oh, so he's on the transition team. I don't know much about the guy. 7-7 Laraz for 10 says, as a gay conservative, I worry about the future going to the Democrats. Do you think there's enough energy to hold control? Well, the Senate, I think we're going to hold. The House, it depends on Trump's performance. Now, it is true that we have to really try to see what we can do, file lawsuits to make sure Ohio can redraw. Alabama, Louisiana can redraw. Get rid of these DEI districts that have given out free seats to the Democrats. You know, Democrats get mad at Republicans for like Wisconsin, where Republicans just have objectively good geography. Then they have to gerrymander every single state in their column. And you can't have that. You can have it one way or the other. Now, maybe a state like Texas, maybe you can make the case that if you redrew that map, it'd be, one or two more seats to the Democrats. Okay. But that doesn't make up for Illinois, New York, Connecticut, Maryland, a lot of these other states that are very, very just objectively gerrymandered and not in a remotely fair way either. So, and again, the Civil Rights Act goes or the Voting Rights Act goes one way. You don't get any, props, or Republicans don't get a seat in New Mexico because whites are a minority. But Democrats have to have a seat or two seats in Alabama, which is a 65% Republican state, because blacks in Alabama are a significant minority. That just, again, it's not fairly applied across the board. And we need to make sure that we can file some lawsuits and make sure we can improve in terms of our seat total. Start playing by the rules that the left likes to pretend we play by. If they're going to say you're unfairly gerrymandered. Okay, well, maybe we'll do it a little bit more because you're clearly doing it more than we're doing it, so why not? Ryan Amakris is so close to making the entire Texas map red with the exception of the large metro urban areas, but 28 and 34. Yeah, 28 and 34 were close, though. And like I said, it's possible that if the trends continue, they can flip easily down the line. BB says, Rep, I apologize for doubting you about Trump being the strongest candidate. By the way, Bob Casey's a sore loser. Also, Blexit has been Blexis. Yeah, Blexis is gone. It's off the table. It's off the table. And it's okay. People doubt, and I understand why they doubt, because they saw the midterms. But I mean, I have been vindicated on a lot of things. It's true. It is a victory lap. I do get to take one. Just for a stream. We could take a victory lap for a stream. It doesn't have to be every stream for the next 4 years, which hopefully we'll be taking victory laps for other things, but it is true. It is true. Ninth says, am I reading this wrong? 917K registered Republicans versus 739K registered Democrats in Maricopa County. How is Gallego winning most of the votes from the county? It's because there's a lot of those McCain-type Republicans in the mix. And on top of it, Gallego with independents is doing much better than Trump. That's basically the rundown. So I'm shocked the ticket split's where it's at. But again, they're counting those ballots individually. If Trump is winning the drops big, but then Lake is somehow losing them, those are the same ballots. So unless people are just, I don't understand how it would be like a shenanigan type thing, because that would mean everybody gets weighed down. Like, I think Wisconsin was affected a lot by that type of stuff. I don't know, some of these return rates are high. They're known for having a nursing home issue. up in places like Kenosha, Racine. That probably did screw Hovde. Michigan might have been enough to screw Rogers, but Trump won easily. Arizona, I mean, you don't run 8 points behind Trump, and that's what the polls actually showed in many cases. But I don't think you could just say that that's like shenanigans. That's a popularity thing, discrepancy. Gallego's far left, but he ran a very moderate campaign. There's Trump Gallego signs everywhere. I mean, it's crazy with what's going on. But we'll see what the future holds for Kari Lake. But I don't think she's going to be able to win a primary just because, when you lose an election or you lose a statewide race twice, even though the first one was ripe with shenanigans, in the second one, maybe less. But it's I don't know how you come back. I mean, she might get a job in the Trump admin if Trump wants. I don't know what she'd be doing, though. Del Pueb says, Lupus Not Key by Howling is stuck in my head thanks to Freedom Tunes. I haven't seen that one. Ryan Amacher says Georgia GOP needs to repeal their runoff law. Purdue would be in office. Instead, we got the low level. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. That's a state that needs to repeal it. Honestly, I don't like ranked choice voting, but if you had ranked choice voting for some of these Senate races like Wisconsin, Nevada, Republicans would have won them. Brittany says JD was a great choice. They really thought his comment about getting the normal gate. Yeah, I mean, it's true because they can't dance around it. And this is the same guy who they said was weird for months. And he's like the most normal person ever to enter politics. That's like his appeal at this point. Flames watches, what do you think about the rumor of Biden resigning so Kamala gets to be it for him? No, he would never do that. There's no point. That would just make them unpopular for years to come, for one. For two, Biden's not giving up power. He hates her. Trump's right. And does Virginia flip now? It depends. It could. Naran Alm says, write this down. Last Tuesday, we witnessed the death of neoliberalism. Dems will go left into if they do that, that would be... So I don't know if they're going to be capable. They're too capitalistic to go way far off. There's a reason why they made sure Bernie Sanders lost a rigged primary twice. They got everybody to drop out against him last time. And they got all the super delegates, as Bernie Sanders would say, super delegates, to give Hillary their votes. Josh Light says, who's your pick for AG? I know it won't happen, but Mark Levin would be epic, more qualified as Edwin. I don't know. There's some guy, forgot his name. Is it Mike Davis? Mike Davis. Oh, he was going off today, telling the New York Attorney General that's trying to get Trump. He said, we'll put your fat ass in prison. Oh, that guy. Already he won my support off that alone, but I don't know if he's going to be on the short list, top of the short list. Earl Carr says, did you see I saw Colorado's 8th fax. Johnson says, need credit if I predicted Rhode Island. I mean, were you the one saying it would be under 10? Because you weren't technically right, but you were, I'll use the term, the left loved it, directionally correct, which is the dumbest term I've ever heard in election analysis. But it is true. It was a lot closer than people thought. I was right. I said it would be a 15-point win just because it's a lot of ethnic, working class whites, like the Portuguese, that sort of thing, Italians. Biden had that unique point of strength among some voters there. Hitman Zarelli for 10 says, what do you think about Washington's 4th with Newhouse? Newhouse probably wins, sadly. I wish we were able to get him out, but we fell short. Travis Kruger says, can Trump upgrade BIA to a cabinet position? I don't know. He'd have to, I think, get that confirmed through Congress or the Senate. Scratching a vomit for 5 says Cornyn's up in 26, so he'll fall in line if he wants a future. Wouldn't mind him being the leader. I think that was Hawley's rationale. I don't like the guy, but if it came down to him and Thune, yeah, I'm going to pick Cornyn over Thune because he's going to have to toe the line. Thune is just going to be Mitch McConnell, the sequel. And I say this as someone who despises Cornyn. But it's the Senate is so corrupt, we're not going to be able to get even a Rick Scott type in the leadership. That's abysmal. If the Republican Party wanted to win, they would put somebody that would have appeal to the new coalition, but they won't do it. They won't do it. Luke Newman says, why did Mike Garcia lose? Well, he faced a stronger candidate this time. District is much bluer. It's sad. And California's California. If there's any state that's ripe with shenanigans or illegals, it's the state where they mail everybody a ballot and some people get like 5 or 6 by accident. And it's very hard to trace and track down. Very hard. They'll say it doesn't happen, but it's hard to track down. Matt V says Fox called it from McCormick one. Merck IWNL says the left is electorally illiterate. They think Trump cheated because of ticket splitting and they're in an echo chamber. They don't think. And yeah, we have people on our side that don't understand the concept either. But ticket splitting is not proof that Donald Trump cheated in the election. Like, that's dumb. And I say the same thing vice versa. I don't agree with everything that every right-winger says about an election. I think people just need to understand that ticket splitting happens. Ted Cruz is not well liked. I know many Trump all-red voters, and I don't get it. But, some of them are more like moderate or whatever. But I get why people don't like Ted Cruz. Now, if they knew how all-red was going to vote and they knew all the facts the way a lot of us do, they probably wouldn't do that. But there are a lot of people that love Tammy Baldwin in rural Wisconsin. I don't get it, but it's the way it is. Bay Shaman says, you've been the most accurate, straight-to-the-point YouTuber I've ever seen. Well, that's a big compliment, but I appreciate it. Kyle Beckman says, now Democrats being election deniers saying Elon manipulated. Yeah, that's like the Venezuela with Dominion theory that some people on the right, which I think was a psyop. There were a lot of people on the right in 2020 that came up with the most outlandish theories possible. And my theory that's not outlandish about them is some of them were ops, and many said don't vote in certain elections ever again. So that kind of proves it. But they were ops trying to discredit legitimate claims of shenanigans in our electoral system, and they were successful. They were. I mean, there was no, some electoral map found on a hard drive in Germany that made zero sense to anybody with, any knowledge about electoral politics is not proof that the state of California went Republican in 2020. It did not happen. But it's the way it is. We know who those people are. Sven Olsen says, John Cornyn's an anti-gun nut from Texas. I'll take Thune over Cornyn any day, rather have Scott. Well, the thing is he's not going to be able to be that way, and that's what I'm saying. As for Tulsi for Secretary of State, Vivek for AG, if Vivek has a JD, then yeah, he could be. He'd be good in the role. He'd be a fighter. He needs to be in some position where he can, I don't know, even if he doesn't use policy, he'd be a great press secretary. He'd throw the media for a loop. And by the way, if Trump is smart and his White House is smart, they would let reporters in from outlets like any random outlet. They don't need to give all the seats to CNN and CBS. I'm not saying don't have those people there because, it's part of the role. You're going to have right media and left media, but give press passes to lesser, establishment on any side organizations. Let them ask the important questions. The media is decentralizing. We need to make sure it stays that way. Big E says, how will 2030 census affect? We might lock him out of power. I might do a video on that. MSU fan says, can Kemp win in Georgia? Yeah, he can. I think North Carolina probably goes red even if Cooper runs. It depends on Trump's popularity, but black voters don't vote in high numbers in midterm years. They just don't. I mean, you saw it in 2018 versus 2020. You saw it in North Carolina. The lower propensity voters are more Republican or the higher propensity voters are more Republican in those states, unlike the Rust Belt or the upper Midwest. JC 1026 is proud. My first presidential vote flipped Georgia. Also, Kemp would win 26 handily. I almost filed a missing persons report on LTE. Lichtman is a clown rep vindicated. It's true. The cast man says, I think Lichtman was being paid to say Kamala was going to win. Also, what do you think the likelihood of keeping the Senate? I think it's very high. If we're at 53, we're not losing 4 seats. What seats are we going to lose? Even if you lose Maine and North Carolina, what seat? They're not flipping Texas. They're not flipping Alaska. There's no seats they can flip. What do you want to convince me on, Ohio? Iowa? I don't see it. Not now. Definitely not now. Those are red states now. Topaz says, I think from now on we need to disregard polling aggregates and only look at Atlas, Intel, and Rasmussen. Well, I mean, Rasmussen, they actually underestimated Trump in the swing states. Once again, they were overestimating him at the national level. I think it's important to look at aggregates. I think it also is important to understand which polls should be given more credence than other polls. Iridescence says, as a young person, day after felt like relief, finally feeling hopeful for the future after years of dooming. Oh, yeah. They overplayed their hand. It's been a great year. Great year. Brittany says, will Trump be able to ban child sex changes as president? Most of the country made it clear they don't support it. Yeah, he should. He promised. It was part of his agenda. You should do it first week in office. Ridiculous what they're trying to do. And it's honestly out of step with the other liberal nations in the Western world. But again, it's an industry for these people. They don't care about children messing up their lives. They care about what lines their pocketbooks. Base Cat says, you think Trump will get another Supreme Court scoop? In terms of, are you talking about, because I think he's going to get he'll be able to replace Alito and Thomas, maybe even Roberts. I don't think he's there yet, and I don't think he likes Trump enough to retire just for him. But it's possible he could get Sotomayor if she has to retire for health. I don't know. He could get one or two in there. Brett BR says, broken old crow Mitch finally out. He's been a rhino since Nixon. Yeah. Nyronald says, I'm pro-life, but Republicans need to stop allowing abortion to be a national issue. It's the only issue they can... Yeah, exactly. It is a state issue now, whether people like it or not. Maybe you could talk about a national, third trimester ban with life of the mother exceptions. That should be the law. I don't know why it's not. But again, it's a state issue. It really is. Murder is relegated at the state. Every state's got their own definition. Every state should have their own definition in regards to abortion as well. And if you make it a national issue, you're going to lose. So we need to make sure that we prioritize lowering the abortion rate at the national level, because the abortion rate's been up even after Dobbs, and it's just vanity, essentially. You have to act, if you actually care about reducing abortions, you're going to have to work on policy that's going to do it. Because after Dobbs, it's people just go to a different state. They're getting more abortions than ever. That's not a good thing. Dobbs is a good thing. It's the constitutionally right thing to do. But if you're pro-life, you want to lower the abortion rate. And yeah, put restrictions in place where you can. Don't be mad at Donald Trump for not wanting a national ban when it would never pass, instead of being mad at Wyoming for not passing any sort of restriction, which is the reddest state in the country. So, yeah. MSU fan says, who do reps run in 25? Did you vote? I did not vote by mail, voted in person early. And I think Sears is going to be the nominee, for better or worse. Bobius Prime says, looks like a beard. If you're talking about me, I mean, it's there. It's just it's not as full this far away from the camera, and it's definitely been trimmed down a little bit, but it's getting there. Chief Officer Henry says LT went radio silent, so is Lincoln. Kamala HQ went silent. I mean, they did. As for LTE, it's just whatever. Everybody knew he would predict a Kamala win. Everybody knew Kamala wouldn't win if they just looked at the fundamentals. Ash K2 says, let's enjoy this victory while it lasts. We're getting crushed in Virginia and New Jersey. In 26, we have to defend. We don't need to defend Texas's Senate. And it's a good thing you're saying this, because you've been wrong about a lot of stuff. So keep it up. I mean it. Keep it up. On Point Politics says, On Point Red Eagle SoCal was the fourth most accurate poll in the nation. We destroyed these buffoons with our analysis. No one else would have won. It's true. Reasonable DeSimp. Interesting nickname. Says, what do you think of a Vance DeSantis ticket? That's something I guess a reasonable DeSimp would say. I think what's going to happen if Rubio does get the Secretary of State nod is DeSantis is going to appoint somebody to the Senate for 2 years who's a no-name and is never going to run for re-election, and then DeSantis is going to run and take that seat. I feel like that's what's going to happen. I don't think he's on the main radar for VP. I don't know if he wants to be a VP. I don't think he really wanted to be Trump's VP. So I don't know who the VP will be for Vance. And I know that the same state thing wouldn't have been as big of a deal with Vance. But we're not there yet, guys. We got to get to December before we start talking about 4 years from now. We just got done with this election. Top Gear Fan 2848 says, New Jersey voting to the right of Virginia was not on my bingo card. It was not on mine either. Trapper Scout says, when Lichtman wouldn't give him the keys to the White House, Trump decided to become a master locksmith. Yeah. The keys, what happened? What happened? Some person says, I heard Lichtman claim once that Republicans only recently supported tax cuts. We've been the tax cut party for decades. Yeah, exactly. It's not how it works. Like at all. Like Republicans, Reaganomics, does he not know Reaganomics? Like, come on. Joseph Vol says Vance will be too busy doing MAGA tasks to be leader. Well, I mean, he's going to be in some role. If he was leader, he would be effective, I feel like, at doing that. That would be a MAGA task. John Waffle H2P says, what's next for Arizona? Well, we'll see. That's a governorship we could maybe flip in 26. We'll see. Hobbs is not popular. I don't know who's going to run for that. Hopefully not Karen Robeson, because I really despise a lot of her track record. But we'll see. Count Kilroy says the cookie poll retakes its throne. Lichtman banished to the crystals. Yeah, the cookie poll has retaken its throne. That is true. 2020 was the exception. I said it. COVID threw a wrench in a lot of things. It did. Trump got at the end of the day, Trump said he won in 2020. Whether people believe it or not, I think a lot of people here would believe it. I tend to as well, to a large degree. Believe that he got screwed. And the election this cycle, he wins big. It's like, well, then by proxy, he did technically go for 3 for 3 because he won the argument in a resounding manner at the end of the day. So again, him, Nixon, and FDR become in some sort of a club, right? Some people will say Jackson belongs there as well. But Seth X says thoughts on Brandon Herrera for head of the ATF. He could try Congress again, but I mean, him there would be, I don't know if he'd get confirmed, if he needs to get confirmed, but he'd be really good there. Yeah, obviously, but I don't know. Like, I'm trying to be realistic. Like, some of these picks sound great, but are they going to happen? We could get some good picks that are more feasible. Some person for 10 says Republicans for Harris was a mix of liberal former Republicans and who would never vote Republican for dog catcher. I've done my research on, I guess, some people in the mix. Luke Newman says, can we flip Ossoff and Warnock seats in 26 and 28? Yes, I think so. I really do. Georgia's still going to be left trending. I mean, we saw that. Some of those counties were zooming left this year. Zooming left. But it's still possible to win, obviously, I feel like, in 28. But it's going to be close. I am Charles says, can Trump fire a bad rhino Senate leader if voted? I mean, I don't know how that would work. They got rid of Kevin McCarthy, so I don't know what the process is for the Senate. The Jaded Kriegsman says, hope Trump listens to Navarro this time around, goes for a hard break with the CCP. All the talk about win-win cooperation from them is just about suckering in Wall Street while gutting the U.S. King Caboose says, people can't handle the truth. I got hate from leftists over spitting facts about why Trump won on Facebook. My niece blocked me over a meme electoral map showing the Redskins beating the Commanders because, look at the Native American vote. That was underrated as well. It's like, that was huge. Trump won like 60% of them, depending on the tribe, of course. But that does not happen usually, but it did. You saw the shifts. Look at North Carolina, Oklahoma. Hamster Eater 96 says in 2020, the GOP flipped 13 House seats, didn't lose an incumbent. Compare that to 24. Richard Hudson and Tom Emmer need to resign. Now the NRCC is a mess. Yeah, I think it could be a mix of several things, but we were kind of at our bottom in 2018. We weren't in 2022. We might end up with the same amount of seats. So it's not that bad. I blame the map more so than them, not to excuse Emmer, but DePueb says, you're the best at reading Super Chats. Thank you. Well, thank you. M says, how many Senate rhinos can we primary in 26? I don't know. It depends on which seats. I haven't even gone through which ones are up, but there's several. Cornyn better get his act together, or he might be on deck. I don't know. A lot of people say Tillis. I don't know how they're going to want to go about primaries in like these deep or these like swing states instead of deep red states where they're not going to possibly impact the general. So they're going to have to find a way around that for sure. But we'll see. Sometimes people show their true colors. It could be somebody new in a couple of months. We're not there yet. Willow 19460 says Kayleigh McEnany for press sec. Well, she was already press secretary. I don't know if she wants to do it again, especially because, I don't know, the primary cycle, she was more kind of hostile towards Trump. Probably not anymore, but still, I feel like it's going to be somebody new, somebody different. MH says, I'm not sure if you said this, but who will be the... We covered the Senate Majority Leader. It probably is going to be somebody weak. But hopefully Rick Scott, he's like the best of the reasonable or realistic bunch. Hamster Reader says, I heard Cradle Robert John Rose is considering running for Tennessee governor. No way. Glenn Jacobs, a.k.a. Kane for governor 2026. Let's go. We'll see if he runs. That'd be interesting. American Nerd says, how does Tulsi as defense secretary sound? Very good, actually. Also, shout out to Willow for becoming a member. And make sure you guys like the stream. Let's get it up towards 2,000. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. I'm not going anywhere. Hit that bell if you're subscribed as well. Videos will be out, honestly, mostly daily. American Nerd says, is New Jersey now considered a swing state? I don't know if I'd go there yet. But it's true, like when you look at Virginia, a lot of people said, oh, Virginia got closer in 2021. And I know New Jersey did too, but like Virginia stayed close in like 22 and 23. New Jersey didn't. And it's like at presidential elections, these states don't vote in a vacuum. I don't know how many times I said that, but it became true. If any states were in the vacuum, it was like the swing states in the Midwest being closer. But even that's because of demography. It's because of age. Seniors are less likely to switch their votes. But younger voters, millennials, older millennials that grow up, Gen Xers, like Zoomers even, that's your Trump coalition. That's your coalition. It's a really good one to have because we talk about, oh, the country's changing, but it's arguably changing to be more pro-Trump. Obviously, you still got to get like immigration under control. We need to, I believe, cut not just illegal immigration. That's the first priority, but we should reduce legal immigration as well. And Trump did it in his first term to an extent, but it wasn't permanent. And I'd like to see him do it again. So Manny says Brian Hook is a neocon from the Bush era. Good to know. MH says I meant to say in my previous chat, Rick Scott all the way. We'll see if Scott can win. Hopefully. But I mean, the Senate is the Senate. Just whoever's there needs to do their job and not get in Trump's way. Other than that, it's all about the brand of who you put up there. So we need to get stuff done. We need Trump to fulfill his promises, and I believe he's going to move to do it very quickly. There's a lot to be hopeful for, guys. I'm going to end the show in about a minute, but it's been real. This election cycle has been a ride. I'd like to thank everybody who's been on this journey with me from the second I began the channel. It's been great. The past, 6 years or so. We'll do our 6-year anniversary stream in February, I think February 6th, because it's been that long, 2019. But here we are, and we're on our way. It is not over. It is far from over. This is the beginning of Trump's second rightfully deserved term. And the way it happened was just a total ride. And now Democrats are exhausted. They're exhausted. So that's it, guys. It's late. I'm going to head out. Make sure you guys like the stream down below. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the bell so you never miss another video or stream. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle, out.